Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Group. I'm your host, as always, Ryan, and today we are doing our preview and predictions of the first ever AEW Redemption pay-per-view. So obviously that starts tonight or early hours tomorrow morning if you like me, I'm from the UK. We have 10 matches confirmed for the main card and one for the buy-in. Obviously, I expect it to be more than just that one match on the buy-in. But as of right now, that is the only one that's confirmed. So what we'll do, as always, is we'll go through each match, have a little look at the match, and I'll give you my predictions of who I think is going to win each of the matches. You can then obviously leave yours in the comment section below and we'll compare and see who got more right. So as always, if you haven't already, please do give us a like, drop us a comment, and please subscribe to TWG, the Wrestling Group, today. So we'll start obviously at the buy-in. So the only one confirmed at the minute is for the AEW Trios Championship. That's right, that's the conglomeration. I got mixed up there, didn't I? The conglomeration, they are defending their AEW Trios Championships against Lethal Twist. So obviously it's Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong versus Jay Lethal, Blake Christian and Lee Johnson. It's an interesting one. We've seen a couple of backstage bits over the last couple of weeks with obviously Lethal Twist and Conglomeration, and then they had the big brawl at the end of Collision last night. But to be honest, I can't see anything other than Conglomeration win. I don't think they're going to drop the belts to Lethal Twist. Lethal Twist just haven't been on AEW TV that much for them to then drop the belts to. If it was for the Ring of Honor, maybe, but AEW, I can't see that happening. Like say, Conglomeration are consistently on AEW TV and Lethal Twist aren't. So I'm going to say Conglomeration retain their tag team titles. So that is the only buy-in. So we'll move on to the main card, and I'm just going to go through them one at a time as they're listed in front of me. So we'll start with the AEW National Championship. That is Mark Davis defending the National Championship against Andrade El Idolo. Now, obviously, Andrade was in the Don Callis family for a short while. Got massively over and popular with fans, especially using this catchphrase, "How you know." And that's obviously led to him leaving the Don Callis family. And now he says he wants to face off against members of the Don Callis family. They hold 3 mid-card championships. They hold the TNT, the National, and the International. And Andrade says he wants a shot at them all, and he's starting with Mark Davis and the National Championship. Mark Davis has been massively improved this year. He's probably my most improved wrestler. In terms of singles wrestler, we knew he could do it as a tag team as part of Aussie Open, and then we've seen Kyle Fletcher, for the last 2 years has been phenomenal on his own, but to then see Mark Davis step up as well has been great. He's really, really having a great 2026. Defended the belt successfully on numerous occasions, but I'd expect Andrade to pick up the win. That's where I'm going for this one. And I think with it being the National Championship as well, it makes sense to put it on the likes of Andrade, who already goes back and forth to New Japan. The National Championship originally, when Ricochet held it, he defended it in New Japan, he defended it in CMLL, he defended it in Ring of Honor, he defended it in AEW. He took it wherever he went to defend it in all these places. The last 2 reigns of Jack Perry and Mark Davis, we haven't really seen that. So I think it's time to put it on someone who is willing to do the travel and put in the work. Obviously, Andrade has that working relationship with New Japan. He's a former global champion. He's been back and forth. He also does the indies as well. He's done House of Glory on more than one occasion. So, I feel like it's a great opportunity to put the belt on him. I feel like he's had another one who's had a really good 2026. He's really stepped off since re-signing back with AEW. He's gone on to do the things that we could see him doing years ago in NXT, and even better again. So it's time to start putting some gold around his waist, and I think he does that at Redemption with the National Championship. So next we'll look at a no-holds-barred match between the Painmaker Chris Jericho and Tommaso Ciampa. Now, obviously these have faced previously, but this is going to be slightly different. It's no-holds-barred, anything goes. And of course, Chris Jericho is using his Painmaker gimmick, which he's only used on a handful of occasions, and it's normally where he has to step up and go a little bit darker than what we used to. I think the last time we seen it was against Nick Gage, if I'm not mistaken. That was a while ago now. I think that was the last time we seen the Painmaker Chris Jericho. Obviously, originally started in New Japan when he faced Okada, because it was the Painmaker versus the Rainmaker. Then we seen him face off against Naito, and he ended up winning the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. But he's only been used occasionally, the Painmaker gimmick, in AEW, which, to be fair, makes it that much better. It makes it special, makes it mean more. You know, he wants that shot to be able to beat Ciampa, and he feels like he's going to have to go to a darker place to be able to do that. Ciampa, again, has been having a fantastic 2026. We always knew he was better than what he was allowed to show in WWE. You know, he had a fantastic run in NXT, probably the best run of his career. Then went to the main roster and they didn't know what to do with him, which is appalling, to be honest. But they do that quite a lot over there. He's come into AEW, and I knew as soon as he returned with the Psycho Killer gimmick, I was like, wow, this is it. You know, he's already a former TNT champion. A win over Chris Jericho pushed him further again. Like he said, he still has eyes on the AEW World Championship. He's had one shot for it so far, faced Darby Allin in a great match. And now he's had that taste for it and he wants to go again. Very interested to see where they go with this. You know, Tommaso Ciampa picked up the victory in the first match. Could we then see Chris Jericho pick it up in the second? Then we have a third one, a final. I feel like that's probably where we're going to go. So I'll probably say, because Jericho is using the Painmaker gimmick as well, and it's no holds barred, I feel like Jericho does get the victory against Tommaso Ciampa, and then they'll face off maybe again at All In, maybe beforehand on Dynamite or Collision. But I'm going to back Painmaker Chris Jericho. I know a few people I've seen online are going, oh, does Chris Jericho really need to be facing Tommaso Ciampa? Well, yeah, why would you not? You know what I mean? Tommaso Ciampa's absolutely phenomenal. Plus, eventually, I feel like Ciampa will win the feud like what Ricochet did with Jericho, so it puts him over. So I'm more than happy to see Chris Jericho versus Tommaso Ciampa. So up next, we're going to look at one of the tag team matches, because we've got quite a few tag team matches on this card, and we are looking at the Bang Bang Gang against the Dogs in a double chain tag match. Now, what the hell does that mean? Well, by the sound of it, they're going to be tied up together. So obviously we've seen tag team matches with the dog collar, which is obviously where they've had the collar and the chain. So the collar's been around the neck and then they've had the chain. I assume that the fact that they haven't mentioned dog collar, that it's not going to be that. We've also seen it before where we've had the bull rope tag team match. Now that's normally tied to your wrist, and it's a big rope. I think we might get something like that where it's going to be like a leather cuff link around the wrist and then a chain. They haven't actually gone into detail, I don't think, on what the double chain tag match is going to be, but it's going to be brutal. It's going to be violent. Obviously, we've got history there between David Finlay and Jay White. I think eventually that's going to lead to a singles match, probably All In, between Jay White and David Finlay. And a massive history in New Japan. Jay White normally beat David Finlay in New Japan, but obviously when Jay White lost in his it was like a loser leaves New Japan match, he lost that. David Finlay come out, attacked him with the shillelagh, and then eventually took over the War Dogs. Took over Bullet Clubs, renaming them the War Dogs. So you've got the history there. We have the history, obviously, of Clark Connors. Clark Connors was one of the first soldiers that David Finlay brought into the Bullet Club War Dogs. He's been by his side for a while now. And then obviously Juice Robinson's the same with Jay White. Jay White brought Juice Robinson into the Bullet Club. And then obviously Juice and David used to be tag team champions also, both in Japan and TNA. So there's a lot of history there in this four-way match, in this tag team match. But it's going to be insane, I think. And you know, I'm going to back the Bang Bang Gang. I feel like Jay White is going to go on an undefeated run for a while. You know, he was out for a long time. I feel like Bang Bang Gang get the win. And it leads to a singles match, probably at All In. So up next, we'll look at the women's match, and we have two on the card. And the first one we'll look at is Hikaru Shida. She's defending the AEW TBS Championship against Maya World. So obviously Hikaru Shida won the multi-woman match to become AEW TBS champion. She's only the second woman in history to win both the TBS and the AEW World, Chris Statlander being the other. She's been on a pretty solid run since winning it. She's defended it on multiple occasions now. You know, we've seen her with that more of the heel, more of the mean streak that she's had, which, you know, a few people were questioning, but hey, it led her to the championship. And that's what it's all about. It's all about your accolades at the end of the day, isn't it? It doesn't matter how you're doing. She is the current TBS champion. Then we've seen Maya World. You know, she's been on a tear over the last probably about 6 months, to be fair. She's had a great run in Ring of Honor, you know, challenging on more than one occasion for the Women's Ring of Honor World Championship against Athena. We've seen her in the Owen Hart, and we've seen her in the TBS multi-women's match, and now she's getting a single shot at Hikaru Shida on the pay-per-view for the TBS Championship. And do you know what? I want to back Maya World to pick up the victory. Like I say, Hikaru Shida's done great. She come in, she won the title, she's defended it. You know, she's someone again who ended up unfortunately being out of AEW for a while to do with visa issues and stuff. So she's come back, made sure people remember who she is. But I feel like Maya World is red hot right now, and it'd be silly to not put the belt on her. The only thing that she could do if she didn't win the belt is have a challenge for it again, or go for the tag team titles, which, to be honest with you, originally Maya and Hyan come in as a tag team, but we haven't seen them really tag team that consistently as much as what I thought. I thought they were just going to be in the tag division, but, you know, Maya World's caught what they call lightning in a bottle, and she's red hot right now, so put the belt on her. That's what I do. I think this is going to lead to a title change. Maya World becoming champion. So up next, we're going to look at the 6-way ladder match to determine the number one contender for the AEW International Championship. So we have Jack Perry, Beast Mortos, Commander, Speedball Mike Bailey, Nick Wayne, and El Clon. To be honest with you, there's not a bad one amongst them. I mean, can you imagine Carl Fletcher or Bandito, depending who wins that? Can you imagine one of them facing off against any of these? So many great names, you know. Do you know, I find this one really, really hard. I've been looking at this for a while. El Clon has been great. Obviously, he's had to take time out again for visa issues, so he's been performing in CMLL. He's a great wrestler. I want to see more of him on my screen. Nick Wayne, you know, he went and done the Best Super Juniors in Japan. Before that, he was injured for a while. You know, we've got Commander again. He was in that of AEW. Beast Mortos again, problems with visas. So there's quite a few that we haven't seen on the telly for a little while. In the meantime, we've had obviously Speedball Mike Bailey. He's been on a great run, getting a shot being a singles wrestler, obviously being in a team with Kevin Knight for a while. And then we've got Jack Perry, who obviously has not long been national champion. So I think it's a hard one to pick. And I feel like it doesn't matter which way you pick, you can't go wrong. Like, whoever faces off against either Carl Fletcher or Bandito is going to be brilliant. I think it's either going to be a toss-up between Speedball and Jack Perry. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which way I go. Do you know what? I feel like Speedball is going to eventually face Kevin Knight again for the TNT Championship, probably at All In, and then win it. I feel like his first singles title match is going to be against his singles title win is going to be against Kevin Knight, although it's not necessarily that they win and then they have the shot at All In. They could have the shot next week on Dynamite. We've seen that many times. I'm going to go Jack Perry. I'm going to pick Jungle Jack Perry for the win, and gets a shot at the championship. So we might as well look at that match straight away now. So it's Carl Fletcher versus Bandito, a singles match for the AEW International Championship, but everyone is banged from ringside. That means no Brody King in the corner of Bandito, and of course no Don Callis family, or Don Callis himself in the corner of Carl Fletcher. So this makes it interesting. It's going to just be about 15-20 minutes of pure non-stop action. it's going to be phenomenal. Like, Carl Fletcher for the last 2 years has been the fastest rising superstar I think I've seen maybe in wrestling. He's been absolutely phenomenal. Without doubt, he's going to be an AEW World Champion. I'd probably say as early as next year. Bandito has had a fantastic run as Ring of Honor World Champion. I really enjoyed his first run as World Champ, but I feel like this one has cemented his legacy as one of the greatest Ring of Honor World Champions in history. But I feel like Carl Fletcher picks up the victory. I feel like Carl retains. I feel like, yeah. In fact, yeah, I was saying before. I feel like, yeah, Carl retains. I feel like, yeah, whoever wins the ladder match is going to call a shot beforehand, because I feel like at All In, we're going to go Carl Fletcher versus Okada versus Takeshita. That's my prediction. So, yeah, even if Jack Perry is the one to win, I feel like it might be Dynamite or Collision next week. Yeah, Carl Fletcher to retain. So up next, we will look at another tag team match. We have the Death Riders, Jon Moxley and Will Ospreay, which still sounds weird to say. Will Ospreay, Death Rider, versus Young Bucks. You know, Young Bucks, one of the greatest tag teams in the history of professional wrestling. I feel like I've always got to say it because some people question it. But if you question it, then you're an idiot. It's simple and plain. They are fantastic. They are brilliant. They are the reason why people still care about tag team wrestling. They're my number 2 team of all time. But then they're going up against 2 of my absolute favourite wrestlers of the last decade. You got Jon Moxley, who's my favourite wrestler, and then Will Ospreay, who again has been one of my favourites right up there the whole time. It's a hard one because you also got to look at the fact that Will Ospreay is going to be challenging for the world title at All In. Jon Moxley's the current Continental Champion. You know, when they've teamed together, although it's only been on the odd occasion recently, I think they're about 3-0 in tag matches, including the trios with Kenny. But they're going against one of the greatest tag teams in the history. These are tag team wrestlers, tag team specialists, whereas obviously Mox and Ospreay aren't, but they are both single stars. It's really hard to pick a winner. This is what I love so much about AEW. I feel like AEW does it better than most companies. I think the only one that's on level with them is probably New Japan, where you look and go, anyone can win any match, really. See, even if we do either Mox or Ospreay gets pinned, you know, could that start the divide with the Death Riders? You know, when's this going to come to head? Because we're all expecting it to come to a head at some point. Do you know what I'm going to say? Death Riders pick up the victory. I think Mox and Ospreay, probably Ospreay picking up the pin, defeat the Young Bucks. Death Riders come out to attack Young Bucks after the match, with the New Day debuting and making the save. And then we had a standoff in the middle of the ring between New Day and Young Bucks. That's my wild prediction. It's right out there, but that's what I'm going with. Death Riders win. Young Bucks get attacked afterwards. New Day debut. So let me know, do you think New Day are going to debut this weekend? I do. I think the debut at Redemption setting up the match against Young Bucks at All In. Up next, we're going to look at the AEW Tag Team Championships, and that is Cope and Cage versus Death Riders. Claudio and Pac. You know, Cope and Cage, one of the greatest tag teams in history. I never thought we'd see them tag team again, to be fair. You know, obviously when Cope returned to WWE, he was there for about a year, and then Cage returned, and then Cage went straight to AEW afterwards, and then for a couple of years it was that way. And then obviously when Cope come in, we had Cope versus Cage for the first time in years. But I'm so glad they're back on the same page, tag team, and I'm absolutely made of that. They've kept one face, one heel. It makes it so entertaining. You know, they've had a good run. They've won the tag belts against FTR, so some great matches against FTR. They won the tag belts there. He then gone on and faced the Dogs and retained them successfully, and I expect that's what they're going to do again here with the Death Riders. I feel like Claudio and Pac, great opponents for them, but I feel like Cope and Cage are going to pick up the victory and retain the tag titles, because eventually, again, Same as what I said before with New Day and Young Bucks. We've got to get to Cope and Cage versus Young Bucks as well. Again, like Cope and Cage, one of the greatest tag teams in the late 90s, early 2000s, and obviously Young Bucks, one of the greatest tag teams in the history. So eventually we've got to get to that match as well. Could it be a trios match maybe at All In? New Day, Young Bucks, Cope and Cage, who knows? But I expect them to pick up the victory and retain the tag titles there. So that leaves us with just 2 matches left, 2 world titles. So we'll look at the women's one first, and it's Tekla, my favourite women's wrestler in the world right now. Probably adding Athena on par. Like, I always love Athena, so maybe just under Athena, but Athena and Tekla definitely right up there, my 2 favourites. So we've got Tekla. She's had a great run for the last, I'd say, 7-8 months as AEW Women's Champion. She's been on a tear. She's defeated pretty much everyone else. So now it's time for her to face off against Willow, who recently had to vacate the TBS Championship, but won an opportunity to face Tekla. So I struggle really, really bad with this one for the simple fact is, for me, I think you're supposed to, at All In, All In's like the biggest pay-per-view of the year. It's sort of like AEW's WrestleMania, although I don't like really saying that because WrestleMania for the last how many years has sucked. But it's like their biggest pay-per-view of the year. It's like their Super Bowl, isn't it? So for me, on that, you put your best matches on that card, which is Tekla vs Mercedes Moné. But on the other hand, you've got Willow, never been an AEW Women's Champion before. She's getting a shot. And if she does win and has to face Mercedes, they've got all that history there where they faced before for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. They faced before for the TBS Championship. So it would be the first and only challenge for the AEW Women's World Championship. Obviously, they've had a history now for a good few years, even that predates Mercedes coming into AEW. Like say for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship when Willow beat Mercedes. So we've got that history there, but and I know a lot of people don't like seeing heel versus heel and face versus face, but that's such a WA way of thinking of things. You put your best athletes against each other at any one time. And for me, the biggest match you can book, probably in the entirety of women's wrestling right now, is Tekla vs Mercedes Moné. So that's what I'd go with. I'd have Tekla retain. I do love Willow. I really, really love Willow. I want to see Willow as the AEW Women's Champion. I don't want to see Willow pick up the belt and then drop it a month later. I feel like she might be the one that wins it after Mercedes. But I want to go with Tekla vs Mercedes for All In. So I'm going to say Tekla retains here. So that leaves us with 1 match left, and it's the AEW World Championship, and that's right, it's Kenny Omega defending his belt against Kevin Knight. Look, Kevin's been great. I love Kevin Knight. I think he's really good in the ring. I don't think he's the best on the microphone. I don't necessarily agree with teaming him with the Don Callis family. I'm not sure what they're doing there because obviously it's caused a lot of tensions with him going into the Don Callis family. Do you know what? I'd have preferred if they'd done the turn after Speedball and Kevin Knight had won like a tag team titles or something. I know they had the trios, but they didn't really accomplish anything as an actual team. So I feel like we should have waited until they either held the AEW or the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships before splitting them. But look, this is the way it is. Kevin Knight's had multiple chances now at the World Championship. He faced Darby Allin and failed. He faced MJF and failed. So to be honest with you, he's going to face Kenny Omega and fail as well. For the simple fact is, they're not going to sacrifice Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay at Wembley for Kevin Knight versus Will Ospreay. I'm sorry, maybe in a couple of years, but not right now. I like Kevin Knight. I think he's been fantastic as a TNT champion, but I can't look past Omega versus Ospreay, and I think there's going to be a great match. I think it's going to main event. I think it's going to be brilliant, but there's no doubt in anyone's mind that Kenny Omega gets the win here and goes on to All In. So there you have it. That is my full predictions. A little bit longer than I was hoping to be, but there you go. That is 10 matches on the main card and 1 pre-show match. But yeah, let me know who do you think is going to win each of the matches, and then at the end we can compare and see who got more. I'm really interested to see what your picks are. So let me know, leave them in the comment section below. And as always, if you haven't already, like, comment, and the most important one, subscribe to TWG, the wrestling group, today.